Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is my take on an unboxing video called the Unbagging video. Because it didn't get sent in the post, I collected these in my trip to Burnham's. No need for a box. Although sometimes if you buy enough plants at Burnham's, they will still put them in a box. This is an unbagging. Now, as I said in my Everything in Bloom video, one of these is here for a strange reason, and the other one I shouldn't have got in the first place. So we did get some. The trouble is, when I go to Burnham's, I don't like coming away empty-handed. It seems rude. I mean, I've known Sarah for years and get on great with Sarah, and she's doing us a big favour with the coach trip. Our coach trip for the Orchid Society, she's not opening at weekends apart from on some very special open weekends, but she's not normally open. She's opening up just for us on the Sunday so that I can take the coach trip there. And she's opening the cafeteria, and she's doing us a lunch, you know, so I think it would be rude to come away empty-handed. I saw one plant while I was filming. I thought, oh, that's nice, I'll go back for that. What's the golden rule? If you see a plant you want, pick it up. So anyway, when I went back, that was gone, so I had to find something else. And what have we come back with? What we've come back with is a Masdevallia. Now, we don't grow Masdevallias very well, do we? So it's really sensible getting yet another one, isn't it? But I took one look at the plant, quite honestly. It's just a hybrid, it's not going to have a name, but it is such a healthy plant. It's got new growths coming up all over the place. The plant is full, and it's got new growths coming up in the middle as well as around the outside. I don't see any more buds at the moment, but I won't worry about that. But we do have one bloom on it so that I can show you. I'll have to try and get it to stay still. I'll see if I can get the camera to focus on it. It's alright, I'm having trouble here because I'm not close enough to the lens. Hopefully that's going to focus in on it. But it's a beautiful colour, it's got subtle patterning, and as Masdevallia shapes go, that's the shape I like. The kite shape, yeah? Without the crossy over bits, without the folding bit over the front like Ignea. That's the shape I like. It's a nice colour. It's not a huge bloom, but I could imagine if ever I could get quite a few blooms at the same time, I'd be well pleased. And you're going to come out? No, it's got a pot full of roots, lots of growing root tips, and it's in moss, so it needs to come out, which it will do in the not too distant future, very carefully running that under the tap, so that as the moss loosens, the tap will wash it out. That way I haven't got to bruise and bash those roots about. Hopefully this is the new methodology for fragile roots. But yeah, that's a gorgeous bloom. So that's plant number one. No, you're going to end up down there anyway, you just won't go down there now. In the cool section. Cool as in temperature, not necessarily hey type cool. Right, now the logic of buying this plant, bearing in mind I don't really like blooms, and I said that last time I went to Burnham's. I filmed this and I said, I'm not getting that, I don't like the blooms. Well, I got one this time. The reason I got one is to grow it. That's the important bit. We've got a zygo. We've got a zygo with blooms I'm not that keen on. I wouldn't say I dislike them, but what happened was I got all of the Zygopetalum species up on the screen at home on the computer and wrote down the names of the Zygopetalum species that I liked the most. So I thought, right, I've got half a dozen here. When I get to Sarah's, we'll see if she's got any of these tucked away in the private area. Not one. So there was nothing in there that I could come out with. Also, I was talking to Arthur while I was in there. The ones that they have got are very large plants, and they're due to be split up to be sold. That's what Arthur was up to most of the time I was there. I mean, he had trays full of Restrepias, where some of their really big plants have been split up into like 20 plus smaller plants to sell, you know, to pot and then sell on. And you know, that's what he was up to. I reckon there must have been over 100 plants to pot, and there's me moaning when I've got 5 or 6. Now, I haven't taken this out of the pot. I don't think it'll come out of the pot because it's in this cocoa fibre stuff, and it'll let's hold it over the bag, then if it does decide to fall all over the place. Oh yes, oh look at that. We have an excellent root system. So we have a good starting point, apart from the fact it's in that cocoa peat, which I'm sure it's happy in, don't get me wrong. It'll be happy in there. It's a no ID, it's just Zygopetalum hybrid. But I imagine somebody might be able to get me a name on this one. Quite a few people might have this one. Let's get a bloom close up to the lens. So if you've got that, and you've got a definite name for it, not just a trade name, then let me know in the comments and we'll stick a name on it. But I got this to grow, and basically it's got 2 immature growths that have the spikes on, and those have got good roots, so those are going to carry on and mature. I've got no problem with that, providing I don't mess the roots up. And what we've got round here, right round the other side of the plant, is another new growth that hasn't bloomed yet, and I think might actually be too small to bloom yet. And that's got its roots just starting, just showing the roots now. So the idea is to try and grow a zygo into a big, healthy, big plant with multiple new growths running at the same time, possibly 2 spikes on some of those growths, and get a good show from a zygo. Having killed so many in the past, I think that will be quite an achievement for me to actually get a zygo to grow really well. And this is the one I've chosen to pull on as best I can. So there's some white bits at the bottom of these canes, which I'm a little dubious about what they are, whether they're bugs or not. I mean, that's the one thing, you go round Sarah's, it's not bug free, far from it. I mean, Arthur was saying that they get quite a few snails and slugs that get in through cracks and in through the openings and things like that, you know, ventilation system, all that sort of stuff. And he said that the slug pellets just aren't working like they used to. You know, they just don't seem to be as good. And quite honestly, that goes for all types of treatments nowadays. They just don't work like they used to. So, you know, you just have to put up with it. But, anyway, so that's the 2 plants. A Masdevallia with a very attractive bloom that I will do my best to keep going, as it's a nice, strong, healthy plant. And a zygo, really to emphasise the point that I have got my head round these and now can grow them. Because don't forget, at the moment I've only got 1. Now okay, you know, I managed to repot it without killing the old roots. The new growth pushed on, produced the 2 flower spikes, and it now has a new growth. So it seems like I can now grow zygos. This was got to prove the point. Not specifically because I think the blooms are marvellous, because I'm not quite so keen on... To me it just looks a little wishy-washy. Perhaps I'm being overcritical. But I like the zygos with the deep colours. The one I miss is the Louisendorf. If I see that one going again, I will get that again. I really was annoyed when I lost that one, because the blooms on that were gorgeous. But I've lost it, it's gone, and I said to Sarah about that, had she seen it in any of her suppliers as she's looking up what she wants to buy in, and she said no, that used to be about all the time, but I haven't seen that for some time. So, you know, it's maybe nobody bothers with that one anymore, but if I see it I will get it. And let's have a go with this one. So there we are, that's what I came home with. I also came home with a big bag of bark, and I also came home with, yay! Now you don't very often see me buy black pots, but if you remember last time I went, the clear pots that I've got were too small, and I ended up having to use them because the next size up was far too big. This was for Derek's plants. That's the exact size that I wanted. They're basically 8 centimetres, but they're not really. This was the point about this actual size, the design. And if you look, there is a large lip around the inside. So the inside diameter here is less than 8. They're like 7.5. So they're exactly halfway between the 6s that are too small and the 9s that are too big. This is what I wanted, but I wanted them clear so that I can see what's going on. But the plants I got from Derek that have been put in those tiny little pots, they will eventually start to root. And then they can be, once I know the roots are growing okay, I'll be happy to put them in a black pot. And also the little 6-inch pots will tuck inside those nicely. So I've got my black pots to shut the light out. So dual purpose. So that's, and then my bag of bark I came home with, which is classed as coarse grade. But you know what my coarse bark is like. It's huge, chunky, solid as a rock type bark. The Burnham's large size, coarse grade, is nowhere near as big and does have smaller pieces in with it. So it's going to do me as medium bark. And if I'm using it specifically that I want medium bark and there's a couple of big bits, I can pick them out by hand, can't I? So that's where we were. That's what we came home with. Bag of bark, some pots, a zygo and a masdevallia. It's a strange mix, wasn't it? I stopped for breakfast on the way in the place I stopped with Lynn last time that was newly opened at the time. Had a nice breakfast, went on to Burnham's, had a coffee when I got there, and because I left relatively early, for me anyway, I was going to be home by tea time, so I didn't bother having any food at Burnham's. I just let that go this time. But anyway, still a good day out, and all the clips that I took around the nursery I will put together in some shape or form and get those out to you in the not too distant future. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.